Welcome to the DC Movie Report for The Kitchen. I'm Edward O'Hare, nickname to be determined.
And I'm Sara Netzley, academic by day, freelance writer by night.
Hey, so yeah, we went to the movies this weekend.
Did you know there was a DC movie out? I bet you didn't.
No. Yes, yeah, so The Kitchen, starring Melissa McCarthy, Tiffany Haddish, and Elizabeth Moss, which is based on a graphic novel published by Vertigo, which was written and drawn by Ollie Masters and Ming Doyle in 2015. There were 8 issues, and they've adapted them into a feature film, and Sara and I may be the only 2 people who have seen it.
It's possible. It's very possible. So my husband had not heard of it, was not super interested in going, and about 5 minutes in, he whispers, "Wait, this is Melissa McCarthy. I thought you said Jenny McCarthy. Oh, this is going to be much better than I thought." I don't know why he thought Jenny McCarthy was still in movies, but so that's the kind of marketing I think that this show has had, is that the movie has had. He just had no idea. Yeah,
it's been very sparse. I've seen like a TV spot here or there. I don't even think I've seen posters for this movie. It's a New Line. It's not a Warner Brothers proper. It's New Line Cinema, which is what they do for their lower budget genre movies. So yeah.
Well, and my mind is still blown that the genre. Ed, what is the genre of this movie?
It is a mobster movie.
Yeah, who knew?
Yeah, and I think we're kind of down on it. I mean, the basic. I think there are some really cool moments in this movie.
Well, do you want to describe for the good people what it's about?
Yes. So The Kitchen takes place in 1978 in Hell's Kitchen, in the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood of New York City, which at the time was the last neighborhood in the 5 boroughs that was run by the Irish mob. And the story opens with the last 3 leaders of that mob trying to rob a liquor store and getting arrested by the FBI, and their wives, Kathy Brennan, Ruby O'Carroll, and Claire Walsh, are left to pick up the pieces and end up taking over the mob in the neighborhood, and bringing the gang back to prominence. And it's all of the infighting that starts after that happens, of them trying to hold on to their territory and expand their power, and in some cases trying to take power away from each other.
Yeah.
Yes, and as in all mob movies, there's lots of killing and shooting and twists and turns and betrayals.
Indeed. This movie is just lousy with good talent.
Yes.
But I'm not sure the talent was used as well as it could have been. But Tiffany Haddish and Elizabeth Moss they round out the Melissa McCarthy cast. And all 3, I enjoy all 3 of those women. I enjoy 2 of those women when they're funny. So they were not funny in this. And that's okay. Melissa McCarthy just, had the Oscar film, Can You Ever Forgive Me? She doesn't have to be funny. But I don't know that we also saw the Oscar side of her in this either. There was potential. The story is interesting, but I don't know, it was a little flat for me.
I would say it's what I would say is there are some really cool moments. There are probably about 3 to 5 really, really cool moments in this movie, but the connective tissue between them is really sloppy. And a lot of the dialogue is clunky. It's the kind of thing. I have not spent much time in Hell's Kitchen, but growing up in New York City, these are some of the worst New York accents I've ever heard. But also, and somehow the one person who like nails the New York accent is Donald Gleason, who was born and raised in Ireland. So
I
don't.
was gonna say he's real Irish.
Yes.
I actually wondered if they'd make him Irish. Like when he first came on the screen, I was like, "Ooh, are they gonna let him actually be Irish mob?" No.
No. And you are right. You have some great character actors in here: James Badge Dale, Brian Darcy James, Margot Martindale, Bill Camp.
I don't think. Wait. I don't think we've. Margot freaking Martindale is in this.
Yes.
She's good in everything. And she was okay in this.
Yeah. And I think that part didn't really suit her.
I think for me, I feel like we're doing a non-spoilery section, and then maybe we'll move into spoilers. I guess we'll see. Or not, if we think this would be better off as a...
I mean, I think we gave the gist. Okay.
Let me say this before we start saying anything else that might be revelatory. I think the look is spot on. I mean, I felt like it's set in the 70s, and so the clothes, the cars, Hell's Kitchen looked like actual Hell's Kitchen. Like, it looked terrible. It looked like a bad place to live. So the styling and the look of it, if you are a fan of that 70s vibe, I think this movie has that in spades. I really enjoyed the way the women's clothes and jewelry and hair like leveled up as they got more power. I just personally enjoyed that little moment of, how they go from these kind of downtrodden wives to, these are ladies in charge. So that was fun for me. I think the look of it and the actors behind it are all great. I just don't know that it came together in the execution, but that's my 2 cents on it.
Okay. So I think that's enough non-spoilery stuff. We can get into spoilers now. So
giving you time to lunge to pause if you're somebody who's not seen it yet but is listening to this.
Yeah. Okay. So well, where to start? Okay, I will say this is my favorite Elizabeth Moss performance since Get Him to the Greek. That may be a hot take.
Get Him to the Greek?
Yes.
That's your Elizabeth Moss go-to?
Yes. I thought she was very fun, but she kept that movie grounded, and I thought that was a real performance in surrounded by a bunch of hooligans.
She committed to it.
Yeah, and I believed that she was into Jonah Hill for 2 hours.
Oh wait, we're not talking about this movie. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, this movie. Well, okay. So my favorite moment in this movie, and I when I was in film school, one of my favorite things to study and look at is scenes where what's happening off camera opens up your imagination. And it's what you don't see that can either be more terrifying or more interesting or spurring on your imagination. And is
this where we just say the Blair Witch Project or Cloverfield, depending on what generation of person you're talking to?
Yeah. I mean, I was also going to, like, the classic example I would say would be like, the lack of use of the shark in Jaws. Sure. Or like the ear cutting scene in Reservoir Dogs, where the camera just lifts up and you don't actually see him cut off the ear. But that's what makes that scene terrifying. And then when it comes down, he just has it in his hand. The scene like that in this movie is right after Donald Gleason shows up and kills a mobster who's attempting to rape Elizabeth Moss's character. They have a dead body in a bathtub, and he's explaining to the ladies how you chop it up and dispose of it. He's sitting there with a kitchen knife, describing how to separate a person's leg at the knee as he's doing it, and you don't actually see any blood or gore. You just see the ladies watching it happen and their disgusted reactions. And Melissa McCarthy runs out to vomit, and Tiffany Haddish is getting queasy, but Elizabeth Moss is way too into it.
And there's that,
and at the end,
there's that sweet moment at the end where she's getting ready to do that herself on someone she's killed, and he's like, "Oh, take this knife; it's sharper." Thanks, baby. Yeah, I'm like, and it was. I was rooting for them.
Yes. Yes, and it was one of the most screwed up romances I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool, and it was the heart of the movie for me. And when it ended very abruptly, I was crestful. Yeah, and that's this movie did surprise me at a couple of moments. The fact that they would kill off her character, I was shocked.
Yeah. Actually, I kind of was worried about her from the beginning. I wondered if they were going to go that route. I figured if they were just going to kill one of them, it would be her. If they were going to kill all three, okay. I mean, I could have seen that too, but yeah, I was braced. Mm-hmm. She was too pure and good at puncturing lungs to keep the corpse from bobbing up to the top of the water to be in this world for long.
Yeah, I didn't know why they didn't just take a suitcase full of money, drive out to California, and live your lives.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Mm-hmm. But so yeah. Where else? So do you want to talk about Melissa McCarthy's character or Tiffany Haddish's character?
You want to do Melissa McCarthy because she's kind of our POV character.
Yes, yeah, and she's kind of the face. And she's kind of the face of the group for most of the movie. And she's the one probably with the most ties to the community. She's the daughter of a union worker, who's kind of disappointed that, she ended up married to a gangster. And she has some interesting uphill battles. The idea that, she's a mom, that she's the one dealing with kids and homework and all of that. And she, those, when there's a Jewish group down the street who's has a huge construction project going on, and they're not hiring union workers, she's the one that goes in and kind of lays down the law. I thought that was interesting. And
she seemed really proud that she was helping the community and getting people work, and they were all getting women off the streets. Like, you don't hook anymore, you work for me.
Yeah, and what's weird is like a worse movie, a much worse movie. Sarah, did you see the John Travolta classic Gotti that came out about a year or two ago?
I did not. Mob movies are not really my thing. I got to be honest. So You've got a bad partner in this today. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, if you had said yes, I would have apologized. Yes, I would. I'm sorry. I think I only saw that because I had Movie Pass at the time. But that movie has this weird kind of screwed up logic where they're trying to explain that John Gotti was a good guy, that he was someone who was looking after his community, and he was just trying to help people, and, and that he was this hometown hero, who just happened to have murdered all of these people. And it sort of tries to write him off as being innocent, and that he shouldn't have gotten the bum rap that he did. Which is completely not true. He was a horrible, terrible human being, and to quote Sam Jackson, I'm glad he's dead, and I hope he burns in hell.
So actually, that kind of is my complaint with this movie. Are we supposed to like fist pump and cheer at the sisters doing it for themselves, women power of it, or are we supposed to be like, oh my god, they're killing people left and right, these are horrible, horrible people? Are they anti-heroes? Are they working girl? Are they? It kind of had moments of both, and it wasn't ever clear which we were supposed to go for.
Yeah, I think it's trying to combine those ideas. And you're right, it is kind of weird, but I think it sells it a little better in this movie. Especially because you see that the community is behind them, and that like they're actually trying to help. They're not just trying to, to just collect protection money, and write it off, and that they're actually going out to help these businesses. And there's a point where like they actually give kickbacks to some of these business owners, which, again, still doesn't make it right, but it seems like, in a weird, screwed up way, their heart's in the right place. So yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, they shouldn't have to do that. The police should be able to help these people in a lot of ways, that they don't seem to in this movie. And it's the kind of thing where like, well, if someone has to do this, at least they're going about it with the right intentions. Again, I'm not agreeing with it, but that just seems to be the point that the movie's making, and I think it sells that a lot better than that Gotti movie I watched a couple of years ago did.
Are you just still mad that you watched that Gotti movie?
Yeah. Yes, I am. Yes.
Fair
yes.
enough.
Yes. Kevin Connolly, who directed that, I will never forgive you. No. Sorry. Yeah. God, I'm gonna now every time I watch Entourage, I'm gonna think of that. But with Melissa McCarthy's character, the big moment, I think, for her is when she goes to a meeting in Brooklyn with Alfonso Coretti, and he basically turns in her husband, who turns out had gone to Coretti and tried to put a hit out on Melissa.
Mm-hmm. And I love that everybody was like, do not go to Brooklyn. Do not.
Yeah. But, and it's and she basically, the betrayal in her face, and she walks out of the room and basically gives Coretti permission to murder her husband. And yeah. So she has, there are moments where she doesn't want to kill people unless it's absolutely necessary. And she makes some hard choices. And I think the emotional stakes there were really cool. But again, it's more like the transitions and the connective tissue and the moments between those moments that don't really work in this movie.
And I wish all the husbands got a comeuppance. I don't know how they could have done it better, but it all fell a little flat because we just kind of heard how terrible Claire's husband was. And he was, don't get me wrong. But a little more time for them to try to regain control from their wives once they got out. But a lot of them ended up dead real fast. So,
Yeah. And I think, and Ruby, who's Tiffany Haddish's character, she seemed kind of hell-bent, and you find out she had a whole other agenda that was going on.
Yep.
Yeah. And so okay, Sarah, you explain that story, because that's the one part of the movie that I don't buy.
She had a plan within a plan all along, and she always intended to betray everybody and get power for herself. And it didn't seem like it was hinted to very well in the narrative, and it was kind of a twist for twist's sake, and not a twist that was at all. I mean, the best twists are the ones that you're like, oh, and I didn't have that second Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, she was doing that, huh? As opposed to, oh, that's why she was.
Yeah. So she was sleeping with the FBI agent, who was played by Common, and they orchestrated the robbery that got the husbands arrested. And now they're working together to try to expand the territory and take over Harlem as well. And that just it just seemed a little far-fetched. It just seemed a little too much. They didn't earn it.
It was a big surprise at the end that was too much of a surprise, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, really bad editing at one moment. So when Common shows up, and it becomes evident that he and Tiffany Haddish are together, they flash back to this one scene where Ruby's like in in her apartment, kind of like sitting by a window and watching someone moving on her bed. And when that happened initially, it was right after they were at some like union event, and Claire and Gabriel were getting all affectionate with each other at the table, and like Ruby saying, "Oh, they're screwing. I can smell it on them." And then it just cuts to her in her apartment, sitting by the window, watching something watching somebody moving in her bed. And I thought, like, is she watching Claire and Gabriel? Like, what is that? And then all of a sudden it flashes, when they flash back to that here and you realize, oh, it was Common in the bed. Then I was like, oh, okay, that doesn't work for me. that was just sloppy editing where like I didn't understand like what they were trying to do initially. And did a lot of this seem like really compressed, like they were moving too fast for you?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't want to spend more time with anybody. I wasn't begging for a longer movie, but at the same time, and that was my complaint with the husband coming home and getting their comeuppance. It just happened so fast. They transitioned so fast into these badass gang women. It all happened very fast. Yes.
Yeah. And this is something.
And also,
go ahead.
Every musical cue was super obvious.
Yes. Yes.
Get some deeper cuts.
Yes. Barracuda? Really? Barracuda. That's the best you could do? I mean, what's funny is like the day after I saw this, I took Bill Sweeney, our executive producer, to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And, there's nothing better than a Tarantino soundtrack because he finds those deep cuts, those songs that are really good, but you haven't heard in 40 years. And yeah, like I just feel like when you're making a movie now, how do you not like go to your music supervisor and say, okay, just give me a list of all the top 40 hits that haven't been in a movie soundtrack in at least 10 years.
Look, I love Wayward Son, but come on. So I mean, I think that's kind of a sign of a film that's a little lazier than it should have been. That to me, that's a hallmark of an obvious soundtrack doesn't make a movie bad, but it shows where there were missed opportunities. And a lot of times that's not the only place that filmmakers missed an opportunity for dialogue, character, things like that. So I feel bad being so down on this. Was this an enjoyable 2 hours? Sure. Yeah. Would I have honestly gone to see it if it hadn't been a DC movie? Probably this would have been a renter for me. But
yeah.
Wait till it's streaming. But
yeah.
But I mean, like you say, it has some fun moments. Elizabeth Moss with a lot of fun. You can't go wrong with character actress Margot Martindale. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah, I would say this is a movie I could see being on cable as a rewatchable. The kind of thing where you put it on like, oh, okay, this next 10 minutes are pretty good. Let me just watch this. And like it was one of those things like, there's some movies like, do they warrant a wide release? Do they, like, would this, and I actually wonder if this story wouldn't have been served better if it was like a 10 episode series on Hulu.
Oh, okay. Definitely. I would have followed those actresses for 10 episodes and that storyline to let bake longer, I think would have been a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a review. It's okay, but not amazing. I would I would probably give it I'm trying to think of like a wacky rating system.
How many cannolis?
yeah, I'd give it I'd give it 2.5 cannolis. Out of 4.
Are we out of 4 or out of 5? Okay. I'd probably go 2 cannolis out of 4. Mm-hmm. If we were going out of 5, I'd go 2.5. Mm-hmm. And now I want cannolis.
Yeah. I'm yeah. 2.5 cannolis. That works. It's like a 25 caliber, not a 357. I'm trying.
You lost me.
Yes, yeah. I'm trying to think of the most confusing. It's like a it's like a 3.75 out of 7. You know, like one of those. It's like just over there.
Yeah.
I
do think the 20% on Rotten Tomatoes is a little harsh.
Yeah, and yeah, you know, and that's the one thing with Rotten Tomatoes. It's an aggregator. That's how many people gave it a positive. It's not, you know, it's not an average of what those ratings were. Mm-hmm. That's why I always sometimes it's interesting to see like what the Metacritic score is. You know, and I wonder what the cinema score is because that's the audience score. But yeah. All right. So, that's the DC movie report. The next movie that we will be reviewing, which is coming up in a couple of months, I believe is going to be Joker. Sarah, are you looking forward to Joker?
Am I looking forward to Incel Joker? I am not. I am really not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But there's a lot of interesting talent there. So I'm open to it, but we'll see. I shouldn't prejudge because who knows what the movie could be.
Oh, no, I am opposed to the movie being made on principle. But
I was trying not to always be the negative one. No, yeah, I'm dreading it.
But you know, it's the kind of thing where like, okay, I'm just going to watch this as a movie, and try to pretend that it's not the Joker, and see how that works for me. Probably won't, but we'll see. Yeah.
I just don't super love where they've gone with the Joker in recent years. I don't know. They're interpreting him in a way that I just don't find as interesting or compelling as, I mean, I don't want to say the Jack Nicholson version, but kind of. They're just making him, I don't know. We can talk about it when we get there in a couple of months.
Yeah. So yeah, we love DC Comics TV. Yeah. We think DC Comics live action TV
is some of the best TV.
Is on point, and that's why we cover that every week. And and these movies pop up, and you know, they really try. And we hope that they get better. So that's the DC movie report for this week. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Edward O'Hare TBD.
I'm at Sara Netzley, SaraNetzley.
And follow the show on Twitter at DCTV Report. Send along your emails to dctv@wickedtheory.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show on your podcast app of choice and rate and review us. That helps more people find us. Check out our sister shows, the Wicked Theory Podcast and Preacher vs. Preacher. This has been a Wicked Theory Studios production. Executive producer, Bill Sweeney. Visit us at wickedtheory.com. Shazam, everybody.
Shazam.
Shazam.